Good day, everyone. Let me begin by taking this opportunity to thank the CSA and Zenith in particular for organizing this forum. Now, I've been tasked today to talk about the role of the family in raising generous children. Now, my wife Jack and I have five children. Hannah, who is 21, Rachel is 18, Jacob's 12, David is 10, and Bea, our youngest, is 8. Now, in the time that I have, I hope to be able to share with you two takeaways. Number one, our foundation of generosity as a family. And number two, how do we teach or impart this to our children? Jesus says in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 to 25, "These words I speak to you are not incidental additions to your life, homeowner improvements to your standard of living. They are foundational words, words to build a life on. If you work these words into your life, you are like a smart carpenter who built his house on solid rock. Rain poured down, the river flooded, a tornado hit, but nothing moved that house. It was fixed to the rock." What is the foundation needed for generosity? Nothing in our possession is ours. God owns it all. Second, I'm God's money manager. Biblically, this is referred to as being a steward. Now, there are four principles that we cover as a family as supported by this foundation, the practice of which will lead to a life of generosity. Principle number one, as managers of God's money, a steward invests a portion of what God's given him in what God cares about most. What does God care about the most? People going to heaven. You see, apart from finances, the only thing that God talks more about is the kingdom and people entering it. Now, tithing is the starting point. It shouldn't be the stopping point. If you talk about investing a portion of God's resources. Now, if you think about the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, this is really something that we know in our heart and in our minds that we cannot outgive God. In Malachi chapter 3, verses 7 to 12, we see that we are invited to test God, and our response results in a blessing or a curse. Now, how do we do this as a family? What we start by having a quitclaim deed that we use to fill in the things that are in our possession, and we turn this over to the Lord as the owner. We read it out loud and we sign it. And we, as early as they can, we also ask our children to do the practice of tithing. Second principle, a steward has a plan for how they are going to use money that isn't their own. And that plan is called a budget. Now, generosity requires planning. We need to know our sources of income and expenses. So we have a family budget that we work on together, and it's something that we usually do towards the end of the year. We talk about where God wants us to invest His money, and this is broken down to tithing to our local church, supporting and partnering with missionaries, and also advocacies or outreaches. It's important that we spend time on this activity as we plan for the next 12 months because we want to be more intentional. You may ask what sort of template we use. In reality, the best budget software or template is the one that you actually use. For us, it's a simple Excel spreadsheet that we fill out yearly and update monthly. Principle number 3. A steward saves a portion of what they earn. Proverbs 21:20 says, "The wise man saves for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever he gets." Every year, we help our children put a portion of the money they receive during Christmas into savings. We help them invest in mutual funds, and for the older ones, work with them to open a brokerage account. This will go a long way in terms of helping for future emergencies or for college. And last principle, a steward avoids debt because it's slavery. Proverbs 22 verse 7 says the borrower is a servant to the lender. Our goal is to be debt free. Having to borrow is a curse, it says in Deuteronomy. And our attitude to debt is important because we may unknowingly be in bondage to it, and it takes time away from doing kingdom work. There are many kinds of debt. We tell our children, always pay for discretionary expenses like watching a movie, eating out, or going to a concert in cash, or if using credit cards to make sure that you are able to pay the full amount when the statement falls due. We show them how long it takes if we are paying the minimum amount on a credit card. For example, if you have 6,000 in your credit card as an outstanding balance and you only paid the minimum and you're paying 18% interest, it would take you 42 years to pay it off. And over the course of that 42 years, pay 16,400 in interest payments. Friends, we can't expect our children or our family to be generous and invest in God's kingdom if we are not following the principles of God. Just like every aspect of life, we need to surrender the area of finances to the Lord. Generosity requires that we have the right foundation. Nothing in our possession is ours. God owns it all. I'm God's money manager. If I am his manager, I must invest in things that are important to the owner, God. For me to do that, I must practice 4 principles: tithing, budgeting, saving, and getting out of debt. Sharing these principles with our children is important. We do this through our evening devotions, doing our family budget together, showing our children, even at an early age, the importance of tithing, helping our children save for emergencies and for their future needs like college, and lastly, by not taking on debt because repaying it oftentimes takes our focus away from God. I hope that this has been helpful to you and that you will also be committed to applying the biblical principles of good stewardship with your children, allowing them to wisely and generously invest in the Lord's kingdom, ultimately the owner of everything. Thank you, and God bless you.